Okay, we're back with Denim and Leather podcast after the summer. So we're starting recording of the new episodes. This is 40th episode, by the way. We're happy to announce Johnny Dee from Doro here, my t-shirt Doro. Also from Britny Fox from Tyketto. A great drummer back in the day from Waysted. Who remembers Waysted? So we're gonna go through whole career with Johnny now. Thank you, Johnny, for accepting my invitation.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for the warm welcome on the backstage on the show when we met this summer.
In Bulgaria, yeah.
It was a great show. You kicked ass. Your drum solo was amazing, man.
Oh, thanks, man. That was, for me, a great crowd always makes a great drum solo, you know? For me, it's more about keeping the energy going and getting the crowd involved a bit, you know? And that was, man, what a night. It was really just a great energy the whole night, you know?
Yeah, it was about maybe 40,000 people. It was amazing. By the way, I love that part that you put in there from Kiss, you know, in the solo.
Yeah, the I Love It Loud thing. Yeah, I've been doing that forever, and I tried to change it because I thought, man, I'm just been doing this way too long. And Doro was like, no, you can't change it. You can't take it out. You know, I love it, and so I do it for her and for all the Kiss fans out there, and it's just a great part to get people singing along.
Maybe it's becoming some kind of a signature for your drum solo.
Yeah, a little bit, you know. I kind of had to borrow that. But yeah, there are some other, you know, little things I throw in there, you know.
Yeah. By the way, if you see me a little bit more than happy, I'm happy because Twisted Sister reunited.
I see your album back there, and
I'm a huge fan. I like they're my favorite band, you know. And I just saw, I saw you commented on Mitch Lafone post, and I've known him, you know, and I saw the news at his post. So I was like, wow, man. I know Dee said that they won't tour again, but I love that I'm gonna see them again, you know.
Well, you know, you can never say never, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a cool thing, you know. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, they said this and they said that, but if you know, people say a lot of things and then they change their mind. So that's all you can really do. For the fans, it's probably a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, those who want to see them will get a chance to see them now, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah. While we're talking about reunions, I saw a post a few days ago, I think, on Blabbermouth about you talking about Britny Fox. What's happening with that? I mean, it's gonna happen or no? Never.
No, I don't think so. It's, you know, it's been back and forth so many times and so much man. I mean, for me, it's like I never really gave up on the idea, but after the last time, I think it was closest ever that, you know, everybody sort of was finally communicating with each other, you know?
Yeah.
Because Dean disappeared for years and didn't, you know, was very vocal about the fact that he didn't want to do it, you know. But then Michael came out of hiding, and he actually called Dean and spoke to him, and I thought, wow, you know, maybe Mike's finally getting through. But in the end, it didn't happen, and I think, you know, the chances are very slim. I don't think it will happen at this time. You know, we've gotten so far past the time of when we should have done it, you know. So I leave it up to those guys, you know. I'm here, I'm still playing. I feel good about, you know, playing. I would love to do that for the fans as well, just as we were saying with Twisted, you know, there's just fans out there that would want to see the band and hear those songs again. And, the only way to do it is to do it with as many people from the original thing as possible. So, but that, it's a long-winded way of saying, I pretty much said that it wouldn't happen, and that's kind of how I feel right now.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask you, but it was like later on in the interview, but now I'm going to ask you because we're talking about Britny Fox.
Yeah.
Did you? They once reunited without you. Why it happened without you?
Yeah. Well, what happened was after the band decided to just basically call it a day, after I think it was around 91 or 92, no, 2000, we did a couple things where, interest was starting to peak up again. And there was all of a sudden some opportunities for that era of bands to go out and play again, because it was impossible for us to tour because we weren't big enough, B, weren't making enough money to survive, on a longer tour.
Yeah.
So, all these things started popping up, like some 80s festivals and cruises and things and weekend shows at casinos, which a lot of the 80s bands could finally do, and get out there and play on the weekends and then go back home and all that kind of stuff. So we did that in 2000, did a live record, and then we kind of went to sleep again. And while that was happening, the bass player, Billy, went and did some research on the name and the trademark and realized that it was expired. So he just took it upon himself to trademark it in his own name. So now he owns the name, and he went out with a bunch of, guys that he hired to just be Britny Fox, which, to the rest of us wasn't really fair or true, It wasn't really Britny Fox. But, at this time in history, whoever owns the name or whoever can use the name is basically like,
something that like that happened with Rat and with LA Guns and stuff like that. I know.
Yeah, many bands have, not only fought over, being a band, but also now you have that kind of thing in the mix where it's like, okay, we're performing as so-and-so, but we're not really so-and-so, or there's one member, or, this guy thinks he owns the name, but the other one feels like he has the right to use it. So it's just a shit show, and I wish it wasn't the case, but it's really, that's how it kind of started. And then in 2018, Billy and his manager at the time approached me about trying to do it, to the best of our abilities with me and Tommy Paris involved, because Dean and Michael didn't want to tour. So we did some stuff together as Britny Fox in 2018 or so, and that didn't last very long either. It always seems to be, as soon as we get together, we kind of fall apart again, just because of a lot of old bullshit that comes up, or just the fact that, it's been so long since we've been together and putting up with one another and trying to make music together. It's like everybody has different opinions, and they always kind of get in the way, or, somebody feels like they're not really getting their fair share, about writing or whatever. I know Tommy Paris was, a little bit feeling that way about, trying to submit songs that weren't really getting any response. So it's, it's all this kind of political personal shit that goes on, you know, that keeps bands from just getting together and having fun and making music. And that's really what it should be, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not that simple.
Yeah, it reminds me on the years-long awaited tour, awaited reunion of Sebastian Bach and Skid Row, you know? Same.
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, that band in particular has made it very clear, you know, that they have no interest on the band side, you know, that they want to be back and dealing with that again. So, you know, that's something they've always said and they've always stuck to. So it's, you know, at least the fans, they have a clear idea, even though they want it so bad.
Yeah,
they do know that it's, you know, the chances are pretty much zero, you know, because they went this far without it and they're just going to probably continue that way. But, you know, it's so complicated. It's and the only, you know, the people that suffer are the fans that would like to see it, you know, and hear it.
Yeah, Johnny, I wanted to start off the interview with, but we went another direction. But I wanted to start from which age are you into music, into drums in particular? You started pretty early?
Pretty early, not as early, man. I see some kids now and it's like my mind is blown, you know, 5, 6 years old, and was like, these kids are just unbelievable, you know. But for me it was more interested maybe at that age, but not, I didn't start really playing until maybe, well, I don't know,
like
10
15,
or 12.
Like 15?
Yeah, a little, seriously, a little bit more like 15, because, you know, we didn't have all this, you pretty much had to like either take lessons from an old jazz player or, you know, a marching instructor, you know, but for if you wanted to play rock and roll, there wasn't, you know, any of these School of Rock or YouTube videos for, you know, for days and days. It's just like you had to kind of figure it out for yourself, you know, and that's kind of what I did. Was really more into like motorcycles and doing crazy stuff, and then I finally broke my leg one summer and I just sat around the house and was like, I really had nothing else to do. I couldn't even walk, so I could at least sit down at the drums and kind of teach myself. I finally sat down and taught myself some real, you know, ways to play certain things. So yeah, and that was about 12 or 13, and then from there, you know, you start to jam with some kids from the neighborhood or whatever, and you just keep going and learning. And but for me it was always playing with other musicians and not as much shedding on my own, you know. See, again, a lot of the younger generation, the YouTubers, man, are just like, you know, burning the whole day playing and learning and practicing and all that. But back when I was doing it, it was, you know, we kind of sort of learned a harder way, you know. But in doing that, it was, you learn a different kind of thing, you know. I got so much better when I started to play with other people, especially guys that were a couple years older than me, and really learned a lot. And I learned about a lot of bands that I didn't know about, you know. These guys turned me on to, you know, I was into Deep Purple and Rush. Not Rush, that was one of the bands they turned me on to, but I was into Kiss and Alice Cooper and a lot of other things. And then, then came the bands that, you know, sort of in the prog direction, you know, where you really got to have your shit together to play
Yeah.
play those songs, so that was a learning process, but yeah, I enjoyed that time.
So maybe your first, I mean, you had bands in the early 80s, but maybe your first big band was Waysted, or?
I would say the first real professional band, was Waysted, because I left home for that gig, made a record for a major label, and I also played with some legendary people, Right before that, I was in a band called World War III, which was not the LA band, but a band from Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
That was a early metal band that was kind of ahead of their time. And they had built up quite a following around the Pennsylvania area. And they also got a lot of mentions in, back in the day, in these black and white fanzines and things that were happening at that time, and cassette trading and whatnot. So they got like a little mention in Kerrang and all the Metal Forces magazine and all these like underground metal magazines. And we actually did a record for a French label called Axe Killer, and they put out an album for the band, and that was kind of like almost there, For
Was
me,
it
like,
thrash metal? Thrash metal?
No, it was more. It was just more heavy, heavy rock in the vein of like Priest or, but melodic and very anthemic. A lot of their choruses had like big anthems.
Okay.
I wouldn't say Man-O-War, but I mean something along those early 80s line, And so that was something that a little bit of a step up from the local scene or playing cover music and stuff like that. I mean, I had started to get into these bands that were writing their own music and stuff like that. But yeah, Waysted was the first real professional gig. I mean, that was
bigger band. Yeah.
We got to tour, play arenas and a couple stadiums, and be performing with these guys that just 1 year before I was listening to UFO albums and seeing them live, open for Ozzy or wherever they were on tour.
It was Pete Way was in Waysted, right?
Yeah, Pete Way pretty much started the band, and then later, right before I joined, he got Paul Chapman from UFO back together to play in Waysted with him, and and that's where I met Danny Vaughan. So we started together in that band.
Yeah, you know what I wanted to ask you? I think Waysted toured with Iron Maiden in '86. You were on the tour, right?
Yeah, I was. Well, they actually did a couple tours. They did some stuff, I think, even earlier with Maiden in the UK when Finn was still singing with them. But when Danny and I joined, which was 85, 86, 87, we did support Iron Maiden in a couple Eastern Bloc.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to ask you. Did you play in Yugoslavia, in Belgrade?
Yeah.
Yes, I know about that show. So I have friends that were on that show.
Dude, that was like one of the first. I mean, I had barely been out of America. I went to England. I'd gone to Italy a few times with my family, and all of a sudden, we're like in these communist countries.
Yeah.
And behind the Iron Curtain, as you would say, and that was.
Yeah, well, if you played Poland and Czech and stuff like that, that was the Iron Curtain. But Yugoslavia was a little lighter socialism, not
right.
like not like the other communist countries, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Basically, I mean, I learned some learned a lot of history by going to play rock and roll, you know, because I didn't pay attention in school, but boy, when you go through a border and there's like armed guards and guys with machine guns and shit, and you're like, hey dudes, have a t-shirt. You know, the Maiden guys would go through and give these guys all kinds of swag and t-shirts and stuff, and you know, they would see their faces light up, you know, because they're basically just kids, you know, and they, you know, may not even wanted to be there, but they were doing their jobs, and you know, you might see them at concerts, and you know, I met so many people on that early touring, you know, that like I said, it was a history lesson and a lesson in life, really.
Yeah, that's those are good times to be a musician, you know, like a touring musician. Afterwards, you started with Britny Fox, of course, after Waysted, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Did you get what level? I mean, I listened to Britny Fox, but I was not. I was a kid in the '80s, so I don't know which level of popularity Britny Fox had. Did you guys went platinum with the records and stuff?
Well, the first album went gold, which is 500,000, and we were just about almost at platinum with that one. I think we were around 800,000 albums, and our label decided to make us stop touring and go make a second record. But the thing with Britny Fox that was a little bit deceiving is that, you know, we were one of the sort of MTV bands, you know, because we didn't have any big radio hits or anything like that. We had some singles, which were videos, which actually we sold, you know, probably 98% of our records from people who had seen us on MTV, you know?
Yeah.
So that was great, and also not so great because, you know, if you don't have MTV or MTV all of a sudden doesn't play your videos anymore, then people kind of forget about you, you know?
Yeah.
So we didn't have enough momentum at that time to really carry us forward. But, you know, we did, you know, that's a lot of records at that time, you know? And today it's like people, you know, don't really sell that much.
Yeah.
And we had a really good chance to, you know, to be seen and to be heard. We got a lot of cool tours. We toured, you know, arenas with Poison and Rat and Joan Jett, and we did a huge gig in Japan with Bon Jovi. And we had a really, really great start. But then, you know, the other thing with MTV bands is kind of like they blew out of there pretty quickly, you know. There was just so much coming.
Overexposure,
Yeah, so, but, you know, by the second album that we did, we were having our own difficult problems within the band, which kind of led to things going downhill pretty quickly.
Also, the 90s came and the grunge era hit, right? I suppose that was also a problem.
Yeah, that was, the timing was definitely bad in that case. And so for us, it was a double whammy, you know. Our second album didn't really take off as quickly as the first one, and you know, we started second guessing everything, and then we had a lot of problems within the personalities of the band. So all those things combined pretty much, you know, were weighing the band down. And
How did you guys get the name?
The name came about through the singer, Dean Davidson. He claimed that he had seen some names in his Welsh ancestry, and he was looking up old family members, and he saw a girl by the name of Britny Fox, and he just thought, well, that's a great name, but I'll shorten it, just say Britney.
Yeah.
You know, and it had a ring to it, and then he came up with it, you know, because of the time that this name existed, you know, and then it would be like the stage clothes kind of were modeled around that era and stuff like that. So it had, you know, a little bit of a thing of its own.
Yeah.
That we could say, hey, we stick out just a little bit more from all the other bands, you know, and that was kind of the concept.
It's a nice concept. I like that because historically, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it works, you know. Sometimes you gotta have, you know, just gotta have something to set yourselves apart from the others, you know. Some people light themselves on fire. I mean, some people wear women's clothing. I mean, it's like, you know, whatever it takes, right?
True. When the 90s hit, you started with Doro, right?
Yeah, in 93.
93. And you are, how many? 32 years now?
32, yeah.
Wow, man. That's so that's your biggest, probably your lifetime achievement, right? I mean,
it's pretty amazing to stay, you know, in any band for a long length of time. But the fact that Doro celebrated her 40-year anniversary, stage anniversary, and it was my 30th year in the band. So it's like crazy to think that I've been with her, you know, 3/4 of her career.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's just a testament to her power and her longevity, and the fact that she's been cool enough to keep me around for so long.
Yeah, amazing. You guys are great partners in crime. She's amazing singer, and you probably play on I don't know, some of my favorite albums from her. Do you wait? When was I remember I liked that pop metal kind of album, Cool Love, but I don't remember which year was that.
Was that on the Doro record that Gene Simmons produced, or was that on True at Heart? Now I can't even.
It was cool. The album was called Cool Love, but it was like a black white portrait of her. It was early 90s.
Yeah, maybe like 1990 or 91.
Probably, but it was like a pop metal, but it was a good one.
Yeah, she did. I mean, it's kind of ahead of her time. She did a record in Nashville before any rock people were really going there. Now it's like all these rock people live there and do all kinds of stuff there. But Doro, you know, she was always kind of branching out. Once Warlock kind of was over and she kind of went solo, and she just liked to experiment and try a lot of different things, and so she did that record in Nashville with some big names, and some great songs on there too.
Yeah, love it. So are you maybe recording now something with Doro, or
I personally not. I mean, Doro works in a little bit of a different way as a solo artist. She, you know, if she finds somebody that she kind of vibes with, she may, you know, she's got a producer, Andreas Brun, who lives in Hamburg, and she works with him a lot, just one-on-one.
Yeah.
And they'll come up with songs and sometimes actually record them and finish them all in one, you know, with programmed drumming and whatnot. And I may learn that, you know, song at some point and then replace drums or do whatever. But a lot of the records are done sort of like when she has time to go do a few songs, she'll do that, and then she gets back on tour, or she's got other things going on. So we never really know what the recording schedule will be, you know, but we've done some, you know, we've had a few songs which we wrote all together as a band, just sitting in the room jamming, and that, you know, like on the Fight album, if you're familiar with that, there was a couple band songs on there, and or she just takes submissions from each band guy as far, hey, do you have any riffs? You know, I like that one, let me write some lyrics to it. And so it's, you know, it's different. It's not like a band that, you know, okay, like we got 10 songs, let's go in and rehearse them for a week and then go in the studio. It's like usually, you know, it's made in a different way, but it's still, you know, she's got a good sense of how to put it all together in the end and package it really nicely for the fans. She loves doing that part of it and making it special, and that's something she's really got a talent for.
Also, of course, I wanted to ask you about how did you become drummer for Tyketto? That was a few years ago, right?
Yeah, I think it's my third year now.
Yeah.
Well, late 22, they announced that they were going to be, that Michael Arbini would retire from the road after their final gig on the Monsters of Rock cruise in early 23. So they announced it 3 years ago, but really I've only been playing in the band for 2, but still a lot of stuff has happened since then.
Yeah.
And the way that I got into the band was for that reason, that Michael wanted to retire from the road. And, you know, so Danny, I think, figured like, okay, well, I guess that's the end of the band, because Michael was the original guy, and he was there from day one, even when Danny was gone for one album or for a few years, you know. So Danny assumed that the band would be finished, but Michael was like, no, dude, you have to keep going, you know, you got to continue, keep all this work that we did, you know, you can't just let that die, you know. So when he had his blessing, I think he said, well, I know who to call. And, you know, it kind of brought us full circle again, because we've always kind of remained friendly and family. We started together. So it's like unbelievable that I got the opportunity to reconnect with Danny and to be in this band. You know, we also got a new guitar player at the same time. So Harry Scott Elliott joined the same time as me. And it's just been great.
How is your schedule going between them and Doro? You know, it's touring and stuff.
Yeah, it's been working out quite well. I only missed a few gigs, you know, maybe like 3 or 4 Doro shows to do the Tyketto stuff, you know, which maybe it was like booked first, and then Doro got a festival offer like very late, and I said, you know, really sorry, I can't do it. But she's been super cool about it, and she also, you know, a couple of us in the Doro band have obviously other things going on, and sometimes it just, you know, things don't, you know, you can't be in 2 places at the same time. But luckily, it's worked quite well, you know. So I'm real grateful for that, and that's been going really cool.
Yeah, did I see? I mean, I know Jeff Scott Soto supports Tyketto a lot, but did he sing on some gigs?
No, I think. Well, I know Jeff and Dan are very friends for a really long time, and they may have done some things together, or. But yeah, as far as I know, Jeff didn't
Yeah, didn't think. Yeah,
and but maybe in a jam or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, well, maybe is something like that, like support of the band. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay. Did you while you're with those bands or with Doro for the 30 years, do you have some side projects working on? I mean, through the past decades and maybe now?
Well, it's with the two bands, it's taken up a lot of my time. You know, Tyketto just did. We've got a new record ready to come out in March, and that was really cool to actually have some time, you know, to record that and stuff. And side projects, sometimes I have a band called the Metal Studs, which is just a metal cover tribute band with some guys from the Netherlands. And I've done, you know, I mean, countless other things, other projects that kind of like seemed like they were going to go somewhere, and then all of a sudden they didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But nothing, trying to think, nothing major as far as like any big records or anything like that. You know, Doro has taken up a lot of my time, and sometimes people think, oh, he's so busy with them, you know, let's call somebody else. And I'm like, so again, I'm real thankful that Danny actually gave me a call, because he probably figured there was no way I would be available. But, you know, I am actually available if anybody is interested. Can never have enough work, you know.
Okay, Johnny, what's your next I don't know, short-term maybe plan or long-term plan with bands and stuff?
Yeah, I guess it would be just to continue at this pace, you know. This year was really great. We had many cool gigs with Doro, festivals in the summer, and no long tours, but it actually works out good for me because I can come home for a few days to spend time with my family, and then get back out on the road. And Tyketto is still building, so we also don't do any long tours, but we've got some really cool stuff in the pipeline coming up. And I'm sure once this new record comes out, there'll be even more going on. So for me, I still love playing live, so I just want to, you know, focus on the two bands, and then during the times when those bands aren't super busy, to, you know, play a little bit on the side, or create maybe some kind of small band to go out and jam, you know, for us guys like that just make a living from playing or love to play so much. It's kind of like, you know, just tell me where the next gig is, and I'll be happy.
Yes. Okay, Johnny, thank you for this interview, for this podcast episode, 40th episode, and wish you good luck with everything you do in the future. So we'll talk again.
Yeah, I wish you all the best too. Congrats on the 40 episodes, and I appreciate you having me. And yeah, it was cool to meet you in person, and I hope I see you again in Bulgaria or wherever. Where are you located?
I'm next to Bulgaria. I'm in Macedonia. It was a part of Yugoslavia back in the day. Yeah. So that's why I asked you about the Maiden gig.
Right, I'd like to visit Macedonia.
So we're the same time zone now. I know you're in Germany. You're based. You live there, or you're?
I do. Yeah, I moved here about 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Which it's been really cool. It's like I don't have to travel over the ocean to come to a gig.
I've been to Germany, but only in Munich.
Nice city.
Yeah. Where are you located? Somewhere north?
Closer to Frankfurt.
Okay. Okay, man. Thank you for everything, and see you again on some tour.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope we get to play in Macedonia. That'd be awesome.
We'll try something out. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Appreciate it.
Bye, man.
Take care.